How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Tales from the Darkside, the graphic novel. This is from Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez, and is put out by IDW. There's the spine, and here's the back. So basically, Joe Hill, who you may know from Lock and Key, he's Stephen King's son. He wrote 3 episodes as like a pilot for a new Tales from the Darkside television show. However, the CW did not pick up the new Tales from the Darkside television show, and rather than just letting the scripts go to waste, it was published in 2 ways. One as this comic book, but it was also published as a script book. So if you want to just read the scripts, you can get that version of it. But if you want pictures too, you can get this version. So we're talking about the comic one exclusively here. But yeah, so Tales from the Darkside, 3 stories that were going to go to TV but didn't. So this is a way to check out something that never had a chance to be checked out before. Now, you get the end papers, which I do like is like TV static, and then you flip to the title page, Tales from the Darkside, and you see why it's TV static. You get this young kid watching TV, eyes behind it. That's pretty cool. But flip it in to look at the credits. You see he's backed away from the TV now, and let's take a look at the credits. So the scripts, the TV scripts were by Joe Hill. The adaptation is from Michael Benedetto. So he took the TV scripts and turned them into comic scripts. So Joe Hill didn't actually write the comic scripts, but I mean, he wrote the TV scripts that the comic scripts were made from. The art is by Gabriel Rodriguez, colors by Ryan Hill, letters by Robbie Robbins and Chris Mowry. Series edits by Chris Ryanall, and Tales from the Darkside created by George Romero. Go ahead and, oh yeah. So if you look at the copyright and legal here, originally published as Tales from the Darkside issues 1 through 4. Now there's 3 stories in here. Story 2 has 2 issues, so it's twice as long. But we open it up to chapter 1. This one is called Sleepwalker. Nothing to do with the Stephen King movie Sleepwalkers. You get this guy, he's a lifeguard, and I'll talk a little bit about each story, but I'm not going to spoil the endings of the story. But enough to get you guys familiar with what's going on in each of these. But anyway, this guy, he's a lifeguard, and he falls asleep when he's supposed to be on the job. So, quite unfortunately, him falling asleep led to a young girl drowning there. So he's horribly upset. He blames himself. The father tries to send him to jail, but they don't convict him. So he's horribly upset and distraught. And then this guy shows up, and he's like, oh man, I don't have much time, something crazy is going on here. And he starts to talk about, I don't know if he says it here, but he starts to talk about Darkside events. And then he faints, he falls unconscious, and then all these people, anyone who sees his face, falls asleep. So he blames himself for falling asleep and having that girl die, and now he makes anyone who sees his face fall asleep. So kind of a Twilight Zone sense of irony. And the guy in the mower, he falls asleep and runs over that guy that's trying to warn him, and he disappears into a cloud of dust there. But anyway, so he has a girlfriend he tries to talk to, but he knows that if the girlfriend sees him, she's just gonna pass out. So he gets this this mask because they were in a theater production together, and that was the mask he wore then, and that's the only way he can keep people from not passing out. But of course, there's other situations. The girl's father's not yet forgiven him, and his power is kind of running amok. But that's as far as we'll go with that story. The next one is Black Box, and this is the one that takes 2 issues. And if you look at that, why, that's the guy that tried to warn him earlier. So now we'll get to see his backstory and see why he's got an all-black Rubik's Cube. So we start off with him as a kid. He tries to roll these dice, and they go under the table where he sees this kid, and after that he has a seizure and passes out, but the dice do land on the numbers he needs. So you see this kid and this figure, and he starts to call the figure the big winner. The figure follows him throughout his life and actually changes as he grows up. So, you know, see, he's got that Charlie Brown-esque shirt. He mimics that with dice. And there's a older teenage version of him, and then the grown-up version of him. So he changes with him. But yeah, he has a figure, and basically every now and then weird and strange things will happen. He'll have a seizure, pass out, but something that is kind of beneficial to him but not really will happen, kind of like a monkey's paw wishes. The most pressing example is he just got fired from his job. A customer was harassing him. He passes out, and Ghostbusters 2 style, her thing that she wears around her neck, the furs, come to life and bite her ear. And then, like, one of his landlords who is mean gets sealed up in his car. So yeah, he has a seizure, passes out, and then, like, monkey paw style, kind of good, but they're not really good things. But, you know, you can see how an evil being might misinterpret it that way. But eventually, he gets found out, called into this clinic, and they said, hey, we think we can make a regulatory chip to help you out so that you can, you know, not be in this situation. So they're going to give him a surgery, but can they suppress this evil being why the surgery's happening? And we won't go any farther in that story because then we run the risk of spoilers. But this is the longest story, being 2 issues, and in turn is more fleshed out, but also sets up the rest of the series, so in turn you don't get a full resolution because it, you know, goes into the other parts. But anyway, A Window Opens is the final story, the 3rd one here. This girl, she's a babysitter. She gets a text on her phone, and then our friend, you can see him magically appearing in the middle of the road, is going to warn her, but he gets hit by her car, and of course, as with the other 2 times, he just, well, other one time, he just disappears. So anyway, she's babysitting for these 2 people, kind of 1950s parent caricatures, and I never noticed he's got a pattern. It's not exactly the Charlie Brown pattern the kid had, but kind of weird. But the kids are stuck in these basically iPads, but it looks like they're got an orange on the back, so I guess they're orange pads. But the kids are stuck on their tablets. They're not paying attention to the outside world, so overall this should be easy babysitting. And of course, like any teen movie, her boyfriend shows up, and, you know, he's nice to the kids, ask what they're doing, and they're playing an augmented reality app where they're drawing cartoons onto real life. And, you know, like, she draws a butterfly wings on a knife, or butterfly knife, and he draws a sunny day, and it turns into the sun in real, well, on the iPad screen it does, but then later, these two things happen. It turns sunny outside, and the butterfly knife becomes real. So, yeah, the, whatever the kids do on the iPads becomes real, and of course, you get the evil kids versus the babysitters, and whatever they draw becomes a reality. Fun and wacky, wacky ideas too. Now this story, it's basically, you got two things with it. All the kids coming up with these crazy ideas. It would be a really wacky and fun creature feature. And I do like that. Well, not really a creature feature, I guess, although there are monsters. But anyway, I do like this element of the story. But that being said, the message is very on the nose in this one. And I mean, it is topical, and it is something we need to be talking about. We're living in a age where technology is everywhere, and the internet and technology are very useful tools, but at the same time, we are getting children that, you know, instead of raising them, parents are quite sadly just giving them an iPad and letting them do whatever, and that's, yeah, that is pretty scary, you know. The internet is important, but, you know, when you talk about a young kid having access to it, you know, you really need to monitor them, make sure they're staying safe, and of course, don't neglect raising them. But that being said, the way this story tells it is pretty dang on the nose, you know. So, yeah, it's something to think about. But this is pretty on the nose the way it tells it. But overall, it is a fun story. I guess flip through the alternate covers when I'm doing final thoughts. But basically, this is a pretty fun graphic novel. There are some really good ideas in here, but like a lot of people said with this, is why there are good ideas, it feels like part of something, because it is. So, you know, people want more fleshed out, finished stories, and this is not a finished story. You know, the story in issues 2 and 3, the second story, it really sets up a lot, and in turn you get a big cliffhanger, and you want there to be more to the story. You want some sort of ending, and overall that ending's not going to be there, and that's definitely the biggest complaint with it. But there are lots of cool ideas. Joe Hill's fingerprints are all over it. You know, if you've seen a lot of the new Joe Hill stuff, you can definitely recognize his story structures, and you can tell it's him. And they are good stories, albeit you have the middle story that's pretty long and doesn't have a resolution, and then the first and third stories, which actually go by pretty quick, and you're like, oh, I kind of wish there was a little more to that. So it is kind of a balance, and I do wonder, I haven't read the script book version, but I wonder if those were condensed a little to be comics. If anyone's read the script book version, I'd be curious about it. But yeah, this is, I mean, it's a good graphic novel, but yeah, that's the thing, is no conclusion. You're gonna have to know that going into it. And I kind of wish, I mean, apparently this comic sold well enough that, like, I see the single issues in a lot of used comic places, and I see this graphic novel everywhere. I mean, I think the comic was successful. They should have just done a Tales from the Darkside comic, kept the story going. I mean, you know, it'd be cool if you could get Joe Hill there, but I mean, at least get another talented writer, and I would love to have seen this continue as a comic, even if it couldn't have been a show. In the back, you do get a question and answers letters page, and it's kind of interesting. Some of their responses seem over edited and way too thought out to be like an interview. You're like, okay, you spent forever typing that. But you get Joe Hill talking about how this is going to go to the CW. And I really wish it did. CW would have been a pretty good fit. I mean, AMC would have probably been better, but now they kind of have Creepshow through Shudder, so they don't really need this. But yeah, I wish CW picked it up. They're pretty good about putting their stuff online and making it accessible, but they didn't. But you also get, he talks about the original Tales from the Darkside and how it had a lot of people from Creepshow on it. He says George, my dad, Tom Savini, etc. were all in some way involved with Tales from the Darkside. And he says it was kind of like the unofficial Creepshow TV show before there was an official Creepshow TV show, although he doesn't reference that there because it wasn't out yet. But this is an interesting letters page, and it's cool to see the story behind it. But yeah, it's sad to see this project never got off the air, but I don't think that's really something to criticize the book for, because that's more like just what happened in real life. It's just, it's sad that it didn't get a continuation, but at least we got to see this, you know. But yeah, interesting for what it is, kind of a curiosity thing, because yeah, it is the beginning of something without an end, but at least we got to see what was made. And kind of curious about the script book, see if the first and third stories are any longer, see if they did get cut down. I don't know. But yeah, good enough. Not the greatest thing ever, but it definitely makes me wish the show actually did come to air, but it didn't. Although maybe, hey, CW, that Creepshow show seems to be doing pretty good. Maybe you want a show to compete with it, although technically Joe Hill's also involved with Creepshow and you'd be competing against himself. I don't know, I wish this came to air, but it's good. But yeah, know what you're getting yourself into. Anyway, I do a comic a week on this channel, so I'll have another one again very, very soon. I do primarily horror movie reviews, so if that sounds like something you're interested in, I definitely recommend sticking around. I do about 95% horror on this channel, yeah. But that being said, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist on the bottom, most likely my comics playlist. And I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a good day.